Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry, 24/7 shopping available. 160920 is the code. Show her some love, like she showed us. K&A Custom Crafts on Facebook.
Hi, everyone. It's Wednesday night, my favorite night of the week. Welcome to another episode of the Bo and Joe Show. I'm here with my sidekick, Bodine Sanders, and our special guest, Adrian Ferris. Hello, gentlemen. How are you?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing well. You know, this fine company, it's a no-brainer, right?
Hello, Joe. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing well. So we got a lot to talk about. What's your scoop? How do you want to start it out? Tell me about the week. What do you think? What direction do we want to go? I guess goes without saying, maybe we should start with the World Series. It's off to an exciting start already.
I agree.
So
Yeah, it is off to a great start.
so let's kick it to you, Adrian. Well, what are your thoughts? You're our baseball expert. What are you thinking?
Well, it got interesting yesterday. So the Braves picked up last night exactly where they left off in Los Angeles, putting a quick five spot up on the Astros early. They did that a couple times to the Dodgers in their series, and when you can get out that hot and with that big a lead early, it makes it for hard for teams, even teams with a great lineup like the Astros, to really get going. I think the tough thing for them though was their ace Charlie Morton went out of the game in the third inning. He took a line drive. Well, he took a ground ball off of his leg, his plant leg in the second inning. He came back out in the third inning and was doing well, and they threw a pitch and got in that leg, and it turns out that he's got a fractured fibula, and now he's on the 10-day IL. So we won't see him for the rest of the series. And that kind of evens it up because the Astros are without Lance McCullers Jr., who is their ace for this series. So the Astros were already going to have to try to figure out, what they were going to do come games 4 and 5, and now the Braves are in the same situation. So Braves got game one. The Astros got out early today. Some sloppy baseball from the Braves in the second inning. They put a four spot on, got to a quick 5-1 lead. It's now 5-2. I think 5-2 Astros in the bottom of the sixth. And I think the good thing for the Braves right now is, even though Max Fried gave up 5 runs, four earned in the first 2 innings, he's settled down and he's shut the Astros down and gotten the last 10 straight. So, with Morton not going to be available, it's going to be very important for Fried to give them some length tonight so that they can stay out of that bullpen as much as possible, because game four is probably going to be a bullpen game from them. They're probably going to have to start someone from the pen and try to piece a game together in game four. And I think the Astros are really in the same boat. They're going to be trying to do the same thing. So it'll be interesting to see what happens from this point on. The Braves are still in this thing. It's only a 3-run game. Like I said, Fried is settled down. The Astros are into their bullpen right now. So we'll see what happens going forward. But it's going to be interesting from this point, as we get deeper outside of game 3 into 4 and 5 to see what happens with those pitching rotations.
So I just want to say quickly hi to a couple people listening. We got George. George, where have you been? There's my favorite Wednesday night pair. We've missed you, George. We thought you forgot about us. And of course, we got Justin in here, and he's saying, the Houston pitching, Valdez was touching his hair a lot. I think he was using some sicky stuff. So that's a different topic, but Welcome, Justin. Welcome. So back to you, Bodine. Sorry to interrupt, but I wanted to give those gentlemen a shout out.
Oh, no, no, no. I was just basically going to say that it's pretty much at this point survival of the fittest, right? It's all hands on deck for both teams, and let's see who can survive the injuries, who can survive the stress, the excitement, the pressure of the World Series, because you're into your bullpen. It's going to be basically bullpen versus bullpen, right? Am I saying that right, Ferris? Am I saying
Yeah,
that
yeah,
right?
it will. It should. Yeah, I mean, so uh, we've got scheduled starters for Game 3. The question is um, how Game 3 is going to play out, and who will be the starters for each team in Game 4, and that'll have a lot to do with you know how good the pitching is and how deep they have to get into their pens tonight and in Game 3 Friday night.
I think all the games are going to be just like last night and tonight. Both teams have hitters. They're going to put up runs, and it's basically who can survive. Is it going to be an 8-5 game, a 10-8 game? I don't think any of the rest of these games going to be low scoring. I think it'll be high scoring because both teams can hit the ball. So, let's see what happens. It's definitely interesting, no doubt about that. I like the fact. How about that first batter home run, first time in
Soler.
history?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Soler last night. And
Sometimes
That was
Soler was on the
impressive.
IL, so he had just come off the IL. He's a power and speed guy, but he also is very disciplined at the plate. So and I forget, was it who started last night's game? Young guy, I think it was Valdez started last night. Young guy, and it's a big deal. Young guy, first game of the World Series, never pitched in the World Series, and the leadoff hitter takes your best pitch and hits a frozen rope into the left field seats. I think that just got him off of his game immediately, and the Braves were able to take advantage of it.
I
Not
think
only
that
that, I'm sorry. Not only that, they said it was making history. First time that had ever happened. Yeah.
Yep.
well, I think what happened is that batter did what most sideline fans are thinking when they're sitting at home at their couch on their couch. Swing at the first pitch, right? Or swing at some of the first pitches, right? Don't wait and see what the guy's doing to you. Just swing, right? And see what happens. And I think he did that and he got a home run out of it. That's what I would have done instead of waiting to see, what the strategy is at the beginning of the game. Just step up and swing at all three. Who cares if you strike out?
Well, the
I
the
would.
approach for him, he has a very good sinker, very good off speed stuff. So the approach for him is to hit his fastball, and that's what he did. So it wasn't the first pitch. I mean, he took a couple pitches. He took a I forget what the first pitch was, a breaking pitch. Second pitch was a sinker down, and he challenged him with that fastball, and he just got beat.
So we have a comment from Chipper. Chipper, welcome. I don't believe that we've ever seen you here before, but he said Bree just didn't have it tonight. Astro hitters are tough. The Braves hitters are quiet. Knew it wasn't going to be easy. Chop on. So chop on. I mean, I do want to get into that topic as well, but yeah, about the big controversy surrounding the tomahawk and the comments that came out from the MLB commissioner. I don't know if we want to delve into that. That's our thoughts on that. He's saying it's a local issue. I think it's in that the Native American community there embraces that. Oh, Chipper is a friend of George. All right, Chipper, then you're a friend of ours. If you're a friend of George, you're a friend of ours. And what do you guys think about that? I think it's a much greater issue than just a local issue, and regardless of whether the Native American community there embraces it or not. I don't know. It's a big controversy throughout the country, and I can't speak for the Native American population, so I'm not going to get too deep into that. But some people think it's overkill, other people think it's appropriate. What do you guys think?
This is the first I heard of it, so I want to hear more. Give me more information.
Well, they're saying that any symbol, it's just like the Washington Redskins. They have the tomahawk and it's a chop, and they're saying it's disparaging against Native Americans. So they're saying that should be the Atlanta Braves, or right? I mean, the Atlanta Braves. They're saying that that's indicative of that's a racial slur by using the tomahawk chop as the tomahawk is their symbol. So they're saying that that should be changed.
Yeah, he tried to play it off. Um, it was in poor taste because he tried to play it off as a regional thing, saying that the Braves and the things that they and the things that they've done for the community, and the fact that they've kind of embraced them, and they've gone to them and they've done things for them to kind of make it seem all right. And those aren't the right words, but it was poor taste. I mean, it's not a good look for Major League Baseball at all. And I'll say this: the one thing I noticed, and so they used to, in Atlanta, they would play the music. So, Bodine, you'd probably recognize this more with Florida State. When Florida State does the chop, they have the music that goes with it, and then the drums. And I noticed this year how the Braves have not been doing that anymore. So they have not been playing the music, but the fans will start the chop on their own. So they'll just beat the drum a little bit, and then the fans will start doing the tomahawk chop, and they'll take it from there. So I think it's kind of interesting how the Braves have kind of backed off from playing the music that goes with it, but they're still getting the fans to get that tomahawk chop going, and that's just what they do in Atlanta to try to spur the team on.
So Chipper saying the Indians should never have given in except for changing the logo. Absolutely nothing wrong with the name, with the Braves name or logo, period. And George is saying that's why the Indians had to do a name change, and the history of the Indians was in honor of one of the team's great players. I think it's a different climate now, and I think that all of these things, Chipper saying correct, no music, but fans still do the chop. Good for the fans. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know. I think that go ahead, Adrian.
I have mixed feelings about it myself.
I do too.
I personally, and I've thought about this a lot, and I have Cherokee Indian in my family. I have Indian in me. I just don't believe that the Redskins way back when, the Indian, I don't really believe that they did it as a denigrating, for a denigrating reason, and more, and I think it's more about the heart, and kind of everything that goes with it. I just never believed that it was something done on a level to throw a negative light on the American Indian. I just don't believe that. So for me, I have mixed feelings. I don't know. What do you think, Bo?
Well, it's been a topic for many years. It started on the high school level, the college level. And because I haven't studied it, if I had to make a decision, I would say the decision, or at least the conversation, should start with Native Americans and seeing how they feel, where they stand regarding the issue. Because it's not only Atlanta, it's not only Florida State, it's Kansas City Chiefs. They do the chop, right? And I'm sure some colleges, maybe some high schools do it. But the people who should have the most power in the conversation are the people who's associated with it, right? So, and so I haven't seen enough or read enough regarding the conversation between Major League Baseball and Native Americans. I only know what the Native Americans were saying regarding Washington, right? So if they've had conversations with the commissioner of baseball and the commissioner of the NFL and the team owners, then that conversation needs to be put out here for everybody to know how that conversation's going. So I'm not going to take the side of the folks who think things should stay the same, because it has no effect on them because it's not their ancestry, right? So the people who are deeply involved in this should have a say. For example, if there was a sports team out there with a negative connotation regarding people of color, I would have an absolute crazy loud screaming from the mountain opinion that I would feel it's my opinion matters because it affects me, right? So I'm going to leave it up to the Native Americans to put their foot down and make their decisions. And if they say it's derogatory, it's demeaning, it doesn't allow their kids to feel empowered, then get rid of it, because it's just that simple. Why reinvent the wheel? Why make a decision more complicated than it is? Because if they feel that way and it affects them in a negative way, then they should have the decision to either keep it or get rid of it.
Yeah, I'm torn about it too. I mean, I certainly see that perspective and I agree with you there. But sometimes and it's not my place to say this, and I know it's not politically correct, but sometimes I just think it's overkill at every level. For instance, even in our high school, we were called, the Red Raiders. I mean, so, so there's discussion now about, and they don't have any, and they actually had an axe and we changed that symbol, but the Red Raiders is so, it's subjective, what is a raider? Yeah, so it's really tough. And what about the Vikings? Is that, derogatory to the Scandinavian people? I don't know. I mean, it's just, I see both perspectives, but I think, it's not my place to say it, but I do sometimes think that we're so sensitive now that it's almost, it almost desensitizes us to the greater, the bigger fights, the things that really do matter, because we're weighing in on every single bit of minutia across all platforms. So, and maybe we need to, but in other ways, what happened to just being more easygoing? We're so uptight about so many things from my perspective.
And I think and if I wasn't clear, let me be clear. I'm agreeing with you in respects that I don't think my opinion matters, because as far as I know, I haven't done a DNA test, so I am not 100% sure if I have any Native American blood in me. So it's why should my opinion matter? It's their opinion, is how they feel. They should have the conversation with Major League Baseball, and then Major League Baseball and the Native American community need to come and make a decision on how they're going to proceed.
So, and I don't know if if you understood, I'm sure you understood what we were saying, but so the MLB commissioner saying it's a regional, local issue. So what if we had the Atlanta Native Americans supposedly embrace it? But then what if we have the New York Native Americans who don't embrace it? It's so tenuous. How do you bridge that gap and that divide? You know, so it's so I think it's such a complicated, yeah, it's
Well,
such a complicated
based on what
topic.
you just said, Joe, based on what the commissioner said, he's kicking the can down the road, right?
Exactly.
Come on.
Exactly.
He can't say, oh, it's a regional or a local issue. He's the commissioner of baseball. That's part of the Braves are part of the organization, the league that he runs. So he can't kick the can down the road. Come on. So he needs to get engaged. He gets paid big bucks to be a leader. Be a leader.
Exactly. So Chipper saying everyone should have an opinion since fans buy the tickets. So Chipper, I know you're new to the show here, but I'm going to call you out right there. I totally disagree with that. I don't think it should be based on monetary gains. I think that too much emphasis is paid on money. I understand that sports are big business, but I don't believe that issues should be viewed or decided based on dollar signs, which are the owners. Who else is benefiting? From the monetary gains. Fans shouldn't weigh in. Just because I go to a baseball game doesn't mean that the fan next to me gets to weigh in on the way I parent or the way so I disagree with that aspect that fans should have a say in. I don't know about what you guys think, but I totally disagree with that comment.
I'm with you. I don't agree with that either. No.
All right. We hope you still like us, Chipper. So anyways, let's delve into something else. I don't know. You want to talk about let's jump into the NFL. I do have some other topics, but Tom Brady, first quarterback, right, to throw 600 career touchdowns. I think that's pretty impressive, but I also love the fact, I don't know if you guys saw this, how there was a young fan in the stands who had the sign up who said, Tom helped me. He had a brain tumor. He said, Tom helped me overcome cancer. And Tom went over and gave him one of his, the hat that he was wearing, I believe, when he threw that or whatever. They said it was a very significant hat because it was momentous. It was a memorabilia of that 600 touchdown. And he walked over and handed it to the fan. And the boy got very emotional. It was really a very touching tribute. I loved how he got the 600, but I loved how he reached out to that fan in a moment when he could have been selfish and taken the attention on himself, but he noticed somebody else. And I am becoming more and more a fan of Tom Brady. So I really like that.
Well, this is part of the human interest stories that we like to talk about. And we have the ability to enjoy those great stories. We just need to have an open dialogue regarding the chop, right? So if we approach the chop the same way we approach the Tom Brady great gesture, I think we can make some headway. Not only did Tom give the kid gloves or a hat, he gave him one or the other, but while the kid was going through his chemo, Tom Brady sent him a video by phone. And that's when they first were connected, through the video while the kid was going through the chemotherapy. And so immediately, the kid fell in love with Tom, and they've had a relationship ongoing since that time. So it's a great story. Those are the kind of stories we love to talk about, because I like to think everybody will agree that's a great thing. It's a feel-good story for everybody. And again, it goes to show you how awesome Tom Brady is. And he is, again, the GOAT. And he doesn't look like he's lost a step. He's going to put up records that I don't think is ever going to change unless the NFL extends the season from 17 games to 25 games. But I don't think that's going to happen. this dude is going to be the GOAT for a long time.
And then the other story coming out of that, Mike Evans threw he didn't realize it was the 600th touchdown. He threw the ball into the stands, and they asked Tom. I don't know if Tom personally asked to retrieve the ball, but they got the ball back, and then Tom rewarded the fan for giving up that ball, which reportedly would have been worth $1 million. And Justin's pointing that out. He said it would have been Justin saying he would have kept the ball and waited for the offer of $1 million. Instead, the gentleman took the Bitcoin. He was rewarded with the Bitcoin. And I'm not Bitcoin savvy, but some of the Bitcoins could potentially be worth much more than $1 million if it works out, the stars align and it works out in your favor. But yeah, I thought that was another great story coming out of that game.
Hold up. Do you honestly think that guy would have made it out of that stadium with that football? No. So he was smart. He did the right thing. He gave the ball up, and now he's got Bitcoins. He's got Gronk gave the guy something. That guy is, believe me, he walked away from that game a little bit more wealthier than he already was. Whatever his net worth is, he's definitely worth more. So he did the right thing.
George agrees. It's better than talking about what the fan is getting in exchange for the football. Exactly. He definitely, those reward, and he's got that story to tell for a lifetime, right? I mean,
absolutely, absolutely, no question, absolutely, no doubt about it. And I'm sure they gave him a ball too, autographed. I think he got jerseys. He got all kinds of stuff. So the total experience is what matters, right? And the guy has got a lifetime worth of stories, and it's probably on video, so he's going to be able to replay it back. And oh yeah, he'll be sitting in a rocking chair when he's 85, going, "Oh, look at me!"
Yeah, they take care of him. There's no doubt they took care of him.
They took care of that guy, absolutely. So yeah,
well, it's amazing. I don't know if you heard any other of the stories about the memorabilia that came out this week. It's really shocking to me how much these items are worth. I mean, Serena Williams, her rookie card, I think that now they have collections of people who are GOATs, and it's notable for a few reasons. Women don't typically, memorabilia don't sell as high as, or you know what I mean. They're not as profitable as the male memorabilia. And I believe I wrote it down. Her card sold for, what was it, for $42,280, a rookie card at auction. And I think Mia Hamm's card before that was the highest paying card for a woman, which is pretty remarkable, $44,000. And they are also saying that but on the flip side, a pair of this week also, a pair of game worn Michael Jordan sneakers from his rookie season went for $1.47 million. So it's a big difference in 44,000. But either way, I mean, that memorabilia is certainly worth a lot of money. So they're talking about that, and George is saying it. The auction house said the ball would have been valued at $500,000. So, I mean, that's crazy. So and
you guys are teasing me about all my props, right? One day my Howie Long golf ball is going to be worth $20.
All right, leave it to me in the will. Leave it to me in the will. But George is saying, I didn't realize this, that fan got 2 helmets, 6 jerseys, and 2 years of season tickets in addition to the Bitcoin. So pretty impressive.
Oh, of course. He doesn't have a complaint in the world.
He is a Howie Long fan, just like you are. So, so that's funny. All right, so let's get into the NFL. I know that's where your heart lies, Bodine. What do you have to say? What do you think about the games? We
got some games. We'll talk about last week's big games, and then we'll talk about what's coming up this week. But I want to start with the league is going to they're going to improve their Rooney Rule regarding interviewing coaches of color to see who's ready to become a head coach. So they're going to put in some new and improved rules that was created by Art Rooney, the owner of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So we can, the owners can do a better job of evaluating the talent pool and seeing who's ready. Because I'm not for just giving a guy a job just because he's African American. I'm for a guy earning the job because he's good enough to do the job, right? And I'm pretty sure there are a few, very small few, but a few of our white brothers who were given jobs because the owners or the general managers felt comfortable with them. But just because that happened, two wrongs don't make a right, right? So let's interview these guys, get them in front of the interviewing committee, see who's got the talent, the skill, the experience, and the ability to coach other grown men. And then, that's, see what the talent pool looks like, because we know they're out there. They just got to find them. You got to find them. It's just like when you're recruiting somebody, right? You recruit somebody that you need, that has a skill set that you need. So you got to go out and find those guys. You got to spend a little bit more time and energy finding those guys of color, those coaches of color, those potential general managers of color, and see who's got the goods, because they're out there. You just got to find them. You got to want to find them because they're out there.
Well,
Tony Dungy isn't the only African-American coach who can win a Super Bowl, or the current Pittsburgh Steelers coach, right? There are other coaches out there. You just got to spend the time to find them.
George is saying we should get that involved all the way up to the ownership level too.
Well, that's a lot about money.
That's about money, right? People can say, oh, we don't have any black owners. Well, we did, right? But how many people of color who are worth $1 billion actually want to own a team? That's the issue, right? We know Oprah's worth $1 billion. We know Michael worth $1 billion, right? We know LeBron is going to be in that category. We know Tiger's in that category. The question is, do they want to own a football team, right? Most folks want to own a basketball team. That's why Michael owns a basketball team, right? So, now the question is, are you giving equal opportunity for a person or a group put together of folks of color to bid on owning a team? Are you being fair to them as if you would be fair to another group that's not of color? Again, we don't know that because we're not part of those conversations. But if you're transparent in the way you conduct business, then you can shut down some of the people who are, like we were saying, pounding on when there's no need to pound on. Because sometimes issues aren't really issues. It's just people out there creating issues, right? So, sometimes if you ain't good enough, you got to accept the fact you ain't good enough. If you're good enough, you'll get hired, especially if you work hard and put it out there that you're good enough. But then the NFL has to do a better job of finding that person who believes they're good enough and know they have the skill set to be a general manager or a head coach. So but it takes two. It takes two to tango, right?
Well, you said it right before. They have to want to find them, because you don't have to look that far. They're out there. Okay. So it's not a matter of, to me, it's not a matter of looking for them. It's a matter of being open to hiring them. The problem with the Rooney Rule is it's become a formality. How many times have we seen a head coaching job come up in the NFL, and Great example is playoff time. So that generally happens at the end of the season, right? And then you have teams in the playoffs that may have that African American coach that would be a great candidate, but they can't talk to that coach until they're done playing. But even though they may be a great candidate and they're supposed to interview a certain number of minorities, and I don't know what the number is, they've already decided when they fire that coach who they want. The decision's already made in a lot of cases. They want this coach. But well, I have to go through the formality of interviewing these other coaches because I'm obligated. So it has to become more than a formality, and it's got to be something, it's got to be put in place in a manner to where that decision cannot be made, or and I guess this would be hiding it, but it can't be put out there that this guy's the lead guy for the job. You know what I mean? He's the number one guy that they're thinking about for this job. You've got to go through that process first. And that's kind of what the issue is. It's more of a formality than really actively trying to get more minority coaches.
Right.
If that makes sense.
No, it does. Because Joe, what happened was when the Rooney Rule started, it was a great thing. And then all of a sudden it became like you're checking a box. So the good qualified coaches of color decided that they wouldn't go through that checking the box of an interview process because the owner who was going to hire a new coach had already determined who he was going to hire. So they were like, well, why go through the interview process? We're not going to get the job. So that began to hurt those coaches from being seen by a number of owners or committees. And so they're trying to tweak that to make it better, fairer, equitable for everyone. And they just got to come, because you're right. If Joe, if you're the owner of the Buffalo Bills and you're in the playoffs and you know your assistant head coach is a great coach and he deserves a job, a head coaching job, but you and that head coach can't talk to the other team that just fired their coach, where everybody has to wait until you and your team is out of the playoffs before anyone can talk to your player. You can't even promote your assistant coach until your season's over. So
prime example is Eric Bieniemy.
Yes.
Assistant coach for the Kansas City Chiefs, their
Yes.
offensive coordinator, went to the Super Bowl last year. All these open jobs, and Eric Bieniemy's name is talked about at the top of the list for every open job in the NFL. But they can't talk to him until he's done playing. They go to the Super Bowl. Jobs were gone.
Yeah, because the teams that fired their head coach has to hurry up and put somebody in place, right? Because you've got people think the season's over when the Super Bowl's over. No, it ain't. Right? Nope. You got to put a coaching staff together. Everything you're basically building your organization from ground up again in terms of the back office, not just the players. Yeah. So time isn't on your side when you fire a coach. And then time isn't on the side of that great coach who's the assistant, because they're still in the playoffs and still playing and winning. So they got to figure out how to make it work.
So George is saying the NFL is the good old boys club. They don't like change. Look how they're giving Dan Snyder a pass quietly and getting swept under the rug. The WFT is an absolute black eye in the NFL, and they're trying to make this situation go away, which is why John Gruden's situation was put to the forefront and diverting the attention away from Washington and the original investigation. Yeah,
I agree with you. I agree with you, George. Yep. Well said, George. It is what it is, right? I wouldn't go. Listen, the only thing I disagree with George about is we gotta. I don't want to say we gotta stop, but we gotta lay off on that term "good old boy network" because I don't think it's that way now or as strong now as it was 40 years ago. I think there are newer owners, newer blood, family members involved. I think the owners are more about protecting the shield versus protecting an individual owner. Because I tell you, like I said, what did I say last week? Give it another year or two, and Dan Snyder, I don't think is going to be the owner of that Washington team. It's just too much is going to come out. He's not going to be able to survive this. I don't care how long they wait, right? There's too many aggressive investigative reporters out there who's going to find some more stuff and it's going to come out. So, and if you want something to change, you can't insult the people who have the power to change it, right? So stop calling them good old boy network, because if somebody was to call me an insulting name, sometimes that makes you want to double down, right? It may not be the right thing to do, but everybody's human, right? So if we have a little bit more diplomacy when we're having conversations, right? And stop name calling, stop identifying people in categories, then I think we might be able to make a little bit more progress, if that makes sense.
It does.
I think the reason that comes out though, Bo, is because it's situations like this where Roger Goodell came out today and said that they're not going to release the findings. They're not going to release what has been going on. But on the other hand, when you have a Ray Rice, when you have any other individual player that gets in trouble or has a situation, they never have a problem releasing that information. So I think that may be where George is coming from, because if you're going to release the information on the individual players, then why can't you release the information on what happened there? So I'm
no, and I saw that clip, and the clip that I saw, so I want to keep it in context. The clip that I saw, the commissioner said the reason we're not releasing it is because we want to protect the people who came forward, who had the courage to come forward. So we want to protect those people, right? And more than likely, the majority of them are women. So if you want to protect them, I completely agree with that. But I think Roger Goodell, being a lawyer, is smart enough to figure out how you can release information and protect those folks at the same time. So stop slow walking this, right? If you have an IQ, a high IQ, which I think pretty sure Roger Goodell does, come on, man, stop playing games, use your intelligence, protect those folks who came forward, but release the information that people want to see so they can have informed opinions regarding whether or not Ed Snyder should remain the owner and stay in the league. It's just, to me, that's just that simple.
And I think it's pervasive. I think that is his tip. I agree with you. I think it's the tip of the iceberg. I think the mistreatment of women in that organization is widespread on a personal level. I think the many, and I don't want to stereotype any of these, but I think that, and I don't, maybe perhaps can be linked back to the traumatic brain injuries and the concussions. I don't know, but I do think that there are certainly anger issues, and anger management is prevalent amongst NFL players. And I think you're exactly right that so much more is going to come out of this. And I think that women have been mistreated in that organization for quite some time. And I think it's probably persists today. It's just like Hollywood, right? We have all these producers, all these directors, mistreating these actresses coming up, and it's the same type of thing. right? It's just power hungry, and I don't want to cold label it the good old boys club, but I also agree with that terminology that George utilized. I mean, and I don't like to even classify it as good old boys because they're not good old boys. They're perverted, inappropriate men. That's what I'll call them. So,
All right, let's get into some games.
all right, let's do it.
Well, first off, Villanova Wildcats ranked number 3 in the country. Yeah, baby. We whipped up on Rhode Island this weekend, 44-zip at homecoming. They didn't have a chance.
And they were 5-1. Rhode Island was. They were 5-1.
Oh yeah. If everything goes well, we will be in the playoffs. I think it's 24 teams. It's going to be very interesting to see how we do in the playoffs. So I'm looking forward to it. But let's get. Oh, how about this? How about did you see the interview with Mike Tomlin, the coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and people talking about, is he interested in the USC
job?
His sound bites are unbelievable. Unbelievable. And he's a perfect example of a guy that came from a small school, not a big Power 5 school, and he's doing well as a coach in the NFL and got a Super Bowl. What was that? I didn't see that because I'm looking at, what was that?
Randy said, well, I want to welcome Randy to the show, but he said, wow, 44-0, talk about one-sided.
Yeah, yeah. We got a good team, Randy. We got a good team, bro. We're looking good. We're looking good. But let's talk about the fall of the Kansas City Chiefs. Oh my goodness, they're falling apart.
Falling apart.
They are falling apart.
They have no running game. I have to give them credit. The defense, they gave up nothing in the second half. I mean, so the Titans' 27 points all came in the first half, and they gave up nothing in the second half. But, you know, what defenses are, they're putting no pressure on Mahomes. They're dropping back into an umbrella zone defense, forcing them to throw underneath. And, I mean, the Chiefs are their offense is it's what's the word? It's unrecognizable.
Oh, it's horrible. They're toilet bowl horrible.
I'm going to say this, though, Bo. This was the worst week of NFL, and I'm not even going to say just NFL. This was the worst. And, you know, I lock in on Saturday and I lock in on Sunday. This was the worst weekend of football that I've seen in a long time, especially in the NFL. I mean, there were no competitive games. The only competitive game was the Falcons and the Dolphins. And other than that, there were and then the Saints and the Seahawks on Monday. But there was absolutely no offense in that game. But other than that, there was not a competitive game on Sunday at all.
And the majority of the home teams won too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
George is saying the playbook is out on Mahoney because there isn't a running game. The Saints just got Mark back, and the Chiefs should be pursuing a big running back fast.
The Saints. Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to say quickly, George also asked how my fantasy football team is doing, and George was instrumental in helping me get that team together. So I want to tell you, George, I was doing great. I lost this week, so now I've been bumped down to. I was bumped down to second place. I've been in first place in my part of the league since the beginning. So I got to have a resurgence. I got Gronk's out, and that's hurting me, but. I'm still at the top of the game though, George. And now that you're back in and the show, I suspect you're my lucky charm, and I'm going to come back on top this week.
Well, I told you it was going to be hard, so hang in there.
I want to talk about quickly coming out of Kansas City before we keep going back. Did you see this story about Brittany Matthews, Patrick Mahomes' fiance, and what's happening in her world? So she's a part owner of the National Women's Soccer League, And they had a big press announcement this week that for the first time ever, they are going to be building a stadium, a brand new stadium in Kansas City, dedicated to I want to read it. What is it saying? She's not only making Kansas City sports history, but women's pro sports history. As co-owner of the Kansas City National Women's Soccer League, and they announced plans for a new stadium in Kansas City, and this will be the first time in women's pro sports that a stadium will be built and used specifically for a women's pro team. So one side of the Mahomes family is up on top. So I'll say that.
Good stuff.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, listen, when you got the kind of coin they have, okay, use it in a good way, and this is a good way, and it's going to have a powerful effect on kids in that community and in that area. So kudos to her team, because once one person does it, someone else will have the courage to do it somewhere else. So again, it's all about being fair, equality, diversity, equity, and inclusion. When opportunities happen and people take advantage of it, it's a good thing. No one should be able to complain about what that message is and what she's accomplishing, because it's all feel good. It's going to help folks all around. So I like that. That's a good story.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
All right, back to football, Bodine. I don't want to derail you too long.
Well, tomorrow night, even though Green Bay is possibly going to be without their star receiver because of COVID.
Two of them.
Now it's
two
receivers.
Yes.
Well, even that. Well, listen. If I'd have just said one, the stats, because I saw the stats on ESPN, Aaron Rodgers still wins when his wide receiver is not playing. But if you've got two receivers out, Arizona's going to chew them up. Arizona's going to chew them up, because that is a home game for Arizona. They are on a mission, and they're playing great football, and I'm going to be watching it, enjoying it with an adult beverage of my own. And that's an exciting football team. And again, I absolutely love Aaron. He's a great quarterback, but I just don't think he's going to overcome losing two wide receivers. That's going to be tough to do.
Yeah, that's. I'll be interested to see what happens. I think it'll still be a competitive game, though.
You want to bet a cheesesteak on it?
We can do that. We can do that. Geno's or Pat's?
Mama's on Belmont, down the street from Charles's house, right down the street. There's a bigger anyway. What did George say?
He's saying the Cards are going to lose tomorrow. Lazard won't be a major loss. Adams out is minor. This is the week of Cobb.
Okay, George, if you want to bet a cheesesteak, I'll bet you a cheesesteak too. I'm telling you, the Cardinals are going to crush them. If Green Bay got two receivers out, it's over. It's over. So let's talk about the other games that are coming up this weekend.
Well, hold on. I'm weighing in on the cheesesteak. I'm not going to bet, but I'm coming down for the sandwich.
Okay.
So we got tomorrow night, Green Bay at Arizona, Carolina at Atlanta. Not interesting. Carolina benched their quarterback, so they got problems. Cincinnati versus the Jets. The Cincinnati going to crush them.
How about what Cincinnati did to the Ravens this weekend?
Oh, Cincinnati got a crew, man. That was a great game. That combination of chemistry, because you got a quarterback and a wide receiver who played together in college. So people don't understand, chemistry is very, very powerful, right? Chemistry can overcome jitters. Chemistry can overcome a new environment. It's all about chemistry. And those guys have it because they played together at LSU. So, boom. I like the fact that Cincinnati is doing well.
And Randy's saying his family is excited about the Bengals win record right now, so they must be big fans.
They're good. They're definitely good. There's no doubt about it.
Good. Oh, and then the running back, he had an issue in college. He overcame it, but he's pretty good too. He was highly touted out of high school, did pretty well. And who did he play for? Oklahoma State. So they got a crew. I mean, if you've got a receiver, you got a quarterback, and you got a good running back, now you add a tight end, you got a crew. And Cincinnati got a crew. So I like that. The next game is Rams versus Houston. Miami, Buffalo. Buffalo should rebound and beat them. No, that's a rivalry game. That could be a good game. That's a rivalry game. Eagles at Detroit. Detroit might get their first victory this weekend.
I was going to say maybe the Lions can get off the schneid this weekend.
Pittsburgh and Cleveland, another rivalry game. That's a good game to watch.
Interesting to see if Mayfield will play or not. He's still trying to talk like he will. I don't think he will, though.
Actually, a lot of these games that I'm looking at them are rivalry games this weekend. San Francisco versus Chicago. Tennessee and the Colts. Jacksonville versus Seattle. Did my Jaguars win their first game last weekend, or was it 2 weekends ago?
I think it was
2 weekends ago.
Yeah,
they were off last week.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. They might have a chance to beat Seattle because Russell Wilson ain't coming back anytime soon with that finger. We might get 2 in a row.
And Seattle's offense did not look good at all against the Saints last week on Monday night.
Nope, didn't. New England at LA Chargers. That might be a blowout. No, actually, let me take a step back. Bill Belichick isn't going to let it be a blowout. But the Chargers should win that game because their quarterback is really, really good. What do you think?
I agree. I mean, look what the well, I can't say Dallas. I mean, Dallas put up record numbers on them, but they were still in the game. You know what I mean? It was still came to the end. And look what they did to Tampa Bay. I mean, they had held Tampa Bay to 19 points late in the game before Tampa Bay actually took control of that game. So, you'd think Belichick's gonna scheme them like he always does and give them a chance. And the Patriots are coming off a blowout of the Jets, so they should be, feeling good about themselves. I don't think it'll be a blowout. I think it'll be a good game, but I think the Chargers will win at home.
Yep. And then the next game is a big game, Tampa Bay versus New Orleans. You got both quarterbacks switch teams, right? You got Tom Brady in Tampa, and Jameis Winston used to be the quarterback in Tampa.
Yep.
So that should be, and it's in New Orleans, so that should be a good game. Denver and Washington. Denver, and that's a home game for Denver. Denver should win that game. And then you got Sunday Night Football, big game, Dallas versus Minnesota. The question is the Dallas quarterback going to play? Have you heard?
I think Dak's gonna play. I think he's gonna play.
You think
they said he didn't look like he had any issues in practice. I think he's gonna play. I mean, Dak's that kind of guy. I don't think Dak's gonna sit out unless they force him to. Quite honestly.
If he's not 100%, they need to call plays that limit him from having to run out, run left, and run right. He's going to have to stay in the pocket.
There you go, Randy. My man, Randy Cox.
God.
There you go.
Randy, I thought you were a Cincinnati guy. Now you're talking about the Cowboys. All right. Well, listen, no cheesesteak for you. I'm gonna steal a saying from Seinfeld show. No cheesesteak for you.
Randy's always been a Dallas fan. He's saying his family were Bengals fans, but Crispy Bacon behind the scenes, they're both two big Dallas fans for a lifetime Dallas fans. So
Yep. Can't do it.
Chris lives down in Dallas actually.
Does he? Awesome. So yeah, so there we go. It's going to be a very interesting weekend, especially for colleges, because there were a lot of upsets. Penn State's out of it because they lost in a 9 overtime game. They're out. I like the fact that Cincinnati is ranked high because they're proving they can win. I just did a radio interview before we started our show tonight with a former Philly. You might even know this guy. Adrian, do you know the name of Don Henderson? He used to be the play-by-play guy for the Philadelphia Phillies. Does that name sound familiar?
Yep.
He's down in Florida, so I did a radio interview. And then after my interview was an interview with a alumni of the University of Georgia, Bulldogs. So they're number 1. Who do you think is what is it? Alabama number 3?
I didn't look at it this year, but I know I think they are, because I think they jumped both Cincinnati and Oklahoma.
Right.
Yes, because Oklahoma struggled to beat Kansas, and Kansas is a terrible football program. And Cincinnati didn't look good this weekend either. So yeah, they jumped both of them. But you knew that was going to happen. I mean, just for the looks of it, Alabama lost that game. Everybody'd be crying if they only dropped them to number 2 or 3. So they dropped them to 5 just for the look. And if you know college football, you knew they would pop them back up within that top 4 as fast as they could.
Yeah, they dropped the ball on that loss. No big deal. But like I say, this weekend, if I'm thinking correctly, this weekend are some rivalry games in the college ranks. So we got the Florida-Georgia game back at my hometown, which is called the world's largest cocktail party.
Cocktail party, yeah.
I think Michigan and Michigan State might be this week. There's lots of rivalries going on this week, so it's going to be a good weekend for football.
Sure will.
What are you doing this weekend, Joe?
Well, I would never tell you anything. I'm going to be glued to the TV. I might DVR a couple things so I can step out. It is Halloween. Don't forget it's Halloween weekend.
True.
So
that's true.
I was thinking about the adult beverages. I want to tell you should have. I have a signature Halloween cocktail this year, the pumpkin spice martini. A little pumpkin, a little vodka, a little pumpkin liqueur, mix it up, shake it up with some cream, and then coat the rim with some pumpkin spice, some cinnamon sugar. So I think I might try one of those as I'm watching the games this weekend.
Well, then shoot me a text when you do that, so I'll know, and I'll raise whatever I have. I'll raise my glass to yours, and that'll be a nice little laugh. So shoot me a text when you do it.
All right, perfect. What game are we watching? Is this the 4? I think I better wait till the 4 o'clock game. I don't want to start drinking at 1. Because I'll be answering the door. You missed my earlier show when I was dressed as a scarecrow.
Actually, I caught you.
I
don't know if you saw me pop on. I saw you.
I didn't know. Like I say, I had an interview with Don Henderson down in Tampa. I had no idea.
I was going to surprise you and come on, but I thought, Bo Dean's not going to be able to handle me as a scarecrow.
No, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. I'm an empty nester, so I didn't realize this weekend is Halloween, but maybe I'll
Well, I didn't want you to get jealous of my props. And thank you, Randy. Randy saying the first pretty scarecrow is me. So thank you, Randy. I
Nice,
appreciate
baby.
that.
Well, listen,
Just have to,
everybody have a good weekend.
you
Enjoy.
too. All right, we'll have to
You
regroup.
too.
All right, let's text whatever the game will be. I'll be the 4 o'clock games. I'll be watching. We may not have the same games on in the same area, so we're gonna have to wing it. But I'll send you gentlemen a picture of my cocktail.
Awesome,
There you
awesome.
go.
I'll be watching the Red Zone. What do you be watching, Adrian?
Sunday ticket. I watch them all.
Oh, nice.
All right.
Got to do it.
All right, that's
Have to
next year
take
for
care of my
me.
oldest son. I've spoiled my oldest son, so I've had Sunday ticket for years. So now, he's got his own kids and everything, but every Sunday he walks in that door and he sits here until about 7 o'clock with his own TV, just doing this.
There you go.
All right, perfect. So we always close the show the same way. Well, thank you, gentlemen, and I want to thank Crispy Bacon behind the scenes. I know he's looking forward to Halloween. I hear he's going to put on his his bacon Halloween outfit, and we'll see how that goes. He's working on getting one of those. So, all right. So thanks guys for tuning in. Thank you, Randy. Thanks, Justin. I think we lost Chipper. Chipper tuned off as soon as we disagreed with him. So George, please, please
Bring
tell
Chipper
Chipper I'd
back.
love to. Yeah, bring Chipper back.
Hey, Chipper, we love you, brother.
We
Come
love
back.
you.
We can continue the conversation, bro. We're all right.
So George, bring Chipper back next week. We lost him after our comment. We disagreed with him, and of course, George. Thanks. George is saying the cheesesteak wager's on for tomorrow night's games. All right, you're gonna have to come back next Wednesday, George, so you can collect. So thanks everybody. Happy Halloween. Have a good weekend. Enjoy the games, and thank you, Chris.
V's up.
V's up.
Good night, guys.
Good night.